Recording. Okay, so this is our fourth and final workshop for Creo or Proe for this semester. This workshop will be covering how to use the pattern and mirror tool. Our last workshop can be found on our website. Just go to AIAAUCF.com and can be found under Career Resources and Creo Proe Workshop. And week 1, I'll probably either be re-recording the video and posting it up, or just doing a step-by-step instruction explaining. That was just the feature about the features shown within the sketch function. And I'll probably either just explain how each of those work. The week 2 video is up, as well as a walkthrough for it. And the week 3 video is up. I will not be posting a walkthrough, so I'll be taking that down. And the files that I mentioned in last week's video, are available to download up here as well. Okay, so back to Creo. So this workshop, as I said, covering the pattern and mirror tool. Just to give a brief description of what they are. The pattern tool can only be used within parts and assemblies. Within parts, they are used to create a pattern of a certain feature. Such as, say you want to pattern an extrude, either like an extrude that you have in there or evolve, you'll be able to pattern it, and there's several different options when it comes to patterning. That's a word. Your chosen feature around in the part. Within assemblies, they are used to create a pattern of certain parts or other assemblies that you have. So say you have a plate and it has like a screw hole pattern, and you actually want to, in the assembly, put screws into those holes. Well, if it follows along like a certain dimension or revolving on a certain axis, you can easily create a pattern. You just use the pattern tool to insert one screw, create a pattern, and then pattern it around that, like a certain axis or whatever. Okay, so the mirror tool, they might seem sometimes, it might be easy to get them confused sometimes, but they're actually really different. The mirror tool is only available within the sketch and within sketches and parts, and they are used to reflect a certain feature or shape across a datum or a face. You can't really create patterns. So, okay. So to start off, we're going to do an example of the mirror tool, and to use this, we're going to open up a new part, and what we're going to model is a symmetric airfoil. I'm going to use the mirror tool to create a symmetric airfoil, so I'm just going to call it airfoil for now. Oh, and yeah, so okay, so what I'm going to do real quick is just turn on my datum tags. So, and set up my, so what I want to set my view first because I want to create a sketch. So I'm going to go to View and Fronts. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to start the model, start up the Extrude tool where I can go in and create a sketch. So I'm going to go to Model, and under Shapes, select Extrude. I can either open up the placement tag by going here to Define, or left-clicking and then Define Internal Sketch. I'll use that. Select the front plane for your sketch plane, and then whatever reference that pops up automatically right here is okay, because you only have like a handful, you only have 3, really 2, datum planes that could possibly be used as a reference. So I'm going to go ahead and click Sketch. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is set up a line that will be used for reference for where to start off your symmetric airfoil. So this line, I want my airfoil to be probably about 6 inches. Enter sketch, and there we go. So, so what I want to do is I want to use the Spline Tool, create an airfoil. It's don't worry, this is just for the sake of an example. This is not actually the method you'd use to create an airfoil. You'd actually bring in the parts from a online resource tool like airfoiltools.com or something like that. It's a long, complicated process, and I tried about 10 times before. I wanted to use an example for the first workshop. I tried about 10 times to bring it in, and it messed up every single time. So, and I don't really use it very much at work, so I'm not familiar with it at all. So, I'm just going to use this method as just an example for now. Yes, that's a disclaimer. Okay, so what you want to do is just create a rough sketch of an airfoil. Doesn't have to be perfect. Mine probably won't be perfect. So, let's see. We can do this. It's pretty bad, but that's close enough. Okay, so now we have half of an airfoil. What we want to do, what we want to do is to reflect, to mirror this first spline curve over this line. So what we want to do first is we want to delete this initial 6-inch line. And when we use the mirror tool, I'll actually show you. But say we want to select this, okay, so now we want to mirror it. The mirror tool is right here. It's under Sketch, Editing, and select the mirror tool. And notice it's not giving me the option to, since I have already reselected that spline curve before I selected the mirror tool, it knows to reflect that feature, that shape. But it's not giving me the option to reflect it across any particular line or anything, because none of these datums are highlighting. So what I'm going to do is middle click, roller button to get out of it. And what we want to do is create a center line so that it'll register the center line and you can reflect it over it. So click the center line, make sure that it walks along this horizontal axis, and you can see the little small H right there. That means that the horizontal constraint is locked on it. So go ahead and click it, and you can see it. So now we want to select the spline curve again, select the mirror tool, and now we can select the center line to flip over it. So now we have our very bad shape of a symmetric airfoil, but it is in fact symmetric with the through the use of the mirror tool. Okay, so now so we're done with that. So let's go ahead and select OK. We're gonna make this about 1/8 of an inch thick, which is about an average thickness for a like piece of wood or something. And enter in your thickness and select OK. And you've created a airfoil. It's more like a teardrop, whatever. So that was an example of a mirror tool within a sketch. Example of a mirror tool using a certain feature within a part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch of, say, when you want to use this airfoil in designing a plane or something, or designing a plane, say for aviation design, for our project, aviation design project or something like that. And I want to create like little. I want to create a little pattern for like where the spars will go. So I want to create a little cutout for how the spars will be installed onto this part. So what I'm going to do is select the Extrude tool. You can select the plane or you can select one of the surfaces. I just select the surface, and now let's open up the sketch window for me to sketch. I'm going to use to front view. I'm just going to create one little square for now and just show you how to use the tool using that square. Let's go back to the sketch tool. Okay, so when it comes to creating this square, I want to have this top curve as a reference. To do that, come over here to the edge under sketch, set up, and select references. Select this top line and do close. So now what to do is to create a little square, say about right here. I'll be going in and fixing the dimensions, so just leave it like that for now. Let's put about 1.15. Yeah, let's go. And this one probably be about 1/8 thick. That's really tiny. I'm gonna move it a little bit back. This one back. That's good enough. Okay, so I mean we created the square, but we still need this top line because it'll with the little red dots. That's showing that it's an incomplete loop. It's not a closed loop. So if you go ahead, if you try to click OK now, it'll pop up with an error and it won't create the extrude when you need it. So I'm gonna use the Spline Tool to fill in that top gap, considering that it's not a flat edge. So there we go. So now that's all good. So I can just go ahead and select OK. I want to flip it because I actually want to create the cut through. And I want to make it go up to extrude to a selected point. And I want to go to this other side. And I click OK. So there we go. We have a cut that goes through the airfoil. This can be used for, say, you want to pattern a certain hole feature or something like that. Or, sorry, not pattern, but mirror a certain hole pattern, I guess. Okay, I'm just confusing you guys. Never mind. So now what we want to do is we want to select the extrude that you just created and select the mirror tool. Okay, so now it's asking you to select the edge that you want, the plane that you want to mirror your selected extrude over. So it's already ready to select the plane. So select the top plane. You notice that it's recognized that you selected it. You don't need to do anything else. Just go ahead and click OK. And there you go. It's mirrored your extrude over your plane. Okay, so we're done with that. You can save the model if you want to. I'm just going to close out of it. Oh, and if you're ever curious about to see what the units for your model are, you can just go to File, Prepare, Model Properties, and you have the option to assign a material. They don't really have that many options for material, and that's really just for like when it comes to if you want to balance a certain object, a certain assembly, or a certain part, or something like that. But you can see our units are in inches, so it's the length, time, and then force. So we're in inches, which is what we want, so we're good. I'm just gonna close out of it. I just want to show you guys that. Okay, so now we want to go on to show you guys how to use the pattern tool. I'm just going to close out of this and do erase not displayed. And what this does, I don't know, I'm not sure if I've explained it before, but it's pretty much the best example I can think of where it's really practical is if at work I have to check out certain parts and stuff like that, so, and they may not always be like the most recent version out there is not necessarily the one that you always want. So doing this, say you've made a change to an assembly or to a part or something, you don't want that change to be kept. So you close out of it, do erase not displayed, and it'll delete it from your computer, not delete the entire thing. So when you go back and open up that part, it will be pretty much reset. It'll be before, like, whenever the last time you saved it was, or if you haven't saved it at all, it'll still be yeah, reset. Okay, so now we want to start I want to show you guys how to use the pattern tool. And what we're going to use this tool to do is we're going to use it to pattern the blades and the nuts of our propeller example around around the center axis. Let's see. What's this? Nope. Sorry, let me just find this part. There we go. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to use the pattern tool to pattern this, the propeller, and this, the nut, around this center axis. And luckily we've already, in previous example, created the center axis. I can show you guys real quick how to do that again. In that case, I'm just going to delete it. Never mind. So, I'll show you guys how to do it. So just to create an axis, just select the two planes that you want them to run down the intersection of. So in this case we want the top, and hold down the control key and select the top, and also it'll pop up in that center axis. So you want to select OK. But I believe we did use the center axis to create other ones in previous workshops. It's been a while since I worked on those, so it's hard for me to remember the steps. But if you did, and you already have that pre-existing axis, then it's no harm, no foul. Okay, so to do this, we're going to use the axis option for both of these tools. So what we want to do is say, let's start with the nut example. So select this extrude that is the nut, and I'm going to select the pattern tool. And here's the different options that we have for a pattern. For a dimension, you'll pattern it using these dimensions. I really don't like to use this option all too much because it makes it really confusing. I like using the axis option. If you want to revolve it, say like we want to do around here. I like the direction in which, say, you have a plate and you want to pattern holes across that plate, or pattern holes or some other kind of shape or extrude along that shape. You'll pattern it in a direction. So say, like if you select this plane, it would go out in this direction, which is not what I want because that would kind of. The table is actually really handy if you want to save yourself the trouble and you have a whole, like say a whole pattern. It's really the only example I've ever really used it for. But it was a complicated whole pattern. You know the dimension or the location of each hole. You manually enter in the location of each hole and then just select OK and it'll pattern in that dimension. But kind of confusing, and if you don't have the time to mess with it, it's kind of hard to figure out. So anyways, go back to select the axis tool, and now it's asking you for the axis that you want to revolve it around. So we want to select the center axis that we have, and this is asking, this first option right here is asking you for, yeah, here we go, the number of pattern members in the first direction. What that means is pretty much how many times do you want it to be patterned. So we want it to be patterned around 6 times, but notice it's still set to 90 degrees, so what it's doing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's going back over and placing 2 objects on top of each other. Yeah. What we want to do is edit this so that it's 360 degrees divided by 6, so 60. So that's the degree that you want. So there we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You only want. So it's pretty much 1 every 60 degrees. So we don't want to have a second option, which is this is just saying a second. It's asking you if you want it in the second direction. Pretty much. Which is what we don't want, so we can just leave that blank. So just go ahead and select OK. And I'll show you what that second option means. Now let's go back in. So you want to do highlight it, do edit definition. You want to go back and do something. So let's say I want to do a second dimension. You see what it did? It pretty much just went out further, and it's also asking you for the dimension that you want to be spaced between those two. But we don't want this, so we just go back and hit 1. And okay. So that's one of those tools that's patterned around. Now we want to pattern this propeller around that same axis. So highlight the tool that you want. Select, oh no, that was the mirror tool. Select the pattern tool, and we want to select the center axis. Wait, right, yes, select, okay. For the option, select axis, and then select the axis that you want to revolve around. We actually want it to be patterned around 4, we want to create 4 propellers going around. So we can leave it at 4 and 90 if you want to have it as some other things. So say if you want to have it kind of like an old World War II plane, so have it 2. If you leave it 2 and 90, that doesn't really look right. 2 and 180, but we want to have it at 4 propellers for now, so go back to 490. So we can go ahead and select OK, because we don't want to change anything else with this. And there you go. It's patterned it around that axis. So that pretty much wraps up our this workshop. You can mess around with this tool because, as I've probably said before, the best way to learn this program and to figure out how all these different tools work and stuff like that is to just mess with it. Go out, find examples of things online, or if you have like a ruler or a caliper at your expense, find just everyday objects and just try to model them within Creo, whatever, to just become familiar with these different tools, and because that's pretty much how I learned that work. Okay, so thanks again for taking your time to watch this video, and I hope you learned something. Thanks.